Daeho Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he stared at the mountain of boxes in front of him. His grandmother Hajin had been collecting things for 40 years, and now their small apartment looked like a warehouse. Old newspapers, broken. Electronics and dusty furniture filled every corner of the storage room. "Grandmother, why do you keep all this stuff?" Daeho asked as he lifted another heavy box. Hajin smiled from her wheelchair. "You never know when something might be useful, my boy. Your grandfather always said that every object has a story," a 12-year-old boy sighed. Summer vacation had just started, and instead of playing games with his friends, he was cleaning out junk. His parents worked overseas, so he lived with his grandmother in this cramped apartment in Seoul. She was kind, but had a habit of never throwing anything away. "Move that big metal box in the corner," Hyjin pointed with her walking stick. "I forgot what is inside it."
"Oh, what?"
Daeho looked where she pointed. Behind a pile of old magazines and broken chairs, he could see the edge of something that looked different from the other boxes. It was made of dark metal and seemed to reflect light in a strange way. He pushed aside the other items and got his first good look at the object. It was not really a box at all. The thing was round like a ball but flat on the bottom. Strange symbols covered its surface, and they seemed to move when he looked directly at them. "Grandmother, where did this come from?" he asked. Hyjin rolled her wheelchair closer and studied the object. Her face went pale. I do not remember. Maybe your grandfather brought it home from work." Daeho ran his fingers over the smooth surface. The metal felt warm, almost alive. As soon as his palm touched the center, the symbols began to glow with a soft blue light. Daeho stepped back, his grandmother said, but her voice sounded more curious than afraid. The object started to hum. The sound was low and musical, like a song played on instruments he had never heard before. The blue light grew brighter, and suddenly the round shape began to change. Parts of the metal surface slid away from each other with perfect silence. Other sections folded outward like flower petals opening in the morning sun. Within seconds, the small, round object had become something much larger and more complex. Daeho stumbled backward as the transformation finished. Where the simple metal ball had been, now stood a sleek vehicle that looked like something from a science fiction movie. It was about the size of a small car, but shaped like a teardrop. The surface was mirror-bright and covered with control panels that glowed with soft lights. "What is this thing?" Daeho whispered. His grandmother had gone very quiet. She wheeled her chair closer to the strange vehicle and touched one of the glowing panels. "I think," she said slowly, "this is a spaceship." As if responding to her words, part of the vehicle's side slid open with a gentle hiss. Cool air flowed out, carrying a smell like rain and electricity. Soft lights came on inside, revealing a small cabin with 2 seats and walls covered in displays, showing symbols and numbers. Daeho peeked inside. The seats looked comfortable, made of material that seemed to shift color as he moved. But what caught his attention was the figure lying in the back section of the cabin. It was a person, but not quite human. The being was small and thin, with pale skin that seemed to glow from within. Its eyes were closed and it breathed very slowly.
"Ow."
Tubes and wires connected it to a machine that beeped softly.
"Grandmother."
"There is someone inside," Daeho said. Before Hijin could respond, one of the displays in the cabin flickered to life. Symbols appeared and disappeared quickly, and then words began to form. The text was in Korean, but the writing looked strange, like it was translated by a computer. "System activating," the display showed. "Scanning for authorized personnel." A beam of light swept over Daeho from head to toe. He felt a tingling sensation like mild static electricity. Scan complete. "Welcome, descendant. You have been selected." "Selected for what?" Daeho asked the display. The machine in the back of the cabin made a louder beeping sound. A small figure lying there began to move. Its eyes opened, revealing pupils that were much larger than a normal human's. When it saw Daeho, it tried to sit up but fell back down, looking weak. "Water," the being said in a voice that sounded like wind through leaves. "Please, water." Daho rushed to the kitchen and returned with a glass. The strange being drank. Slowly, and as it did, its skin seemed to become less pale. After a few minutes, it was able to sit up properly. "Thank you," it said. Its Korean was perfect now, though it still had an unusual accent. "My name is Woobin. I am from Earth, but not the Earth you know." "What do you mean?" Daho asked. Woobin looked around the small apartment, then at Hyjin and Daho. "I'm from 500 years in the future. I traveled back in time to find you, Daho Kim, because humanity needs your help." The boy laughed. "This is crazy. Time travel is not real." "Look around you," Woobin said, gesturing to the spaceship. "An hour ago, did you think spaceships were real either?" Daho had to admit that was a good point. He sat down on one of the chairs in the cabin and immediately felt more comfortable than he had ever felt in any chair before. "Why me?" he asked. "I am just a kid. I am not special." Ben smiled, and for the first time, he looked almost human. "In my time, your name is known by everyone on Earth. You become one of the greatest heroes in human history. But first, you must learn the truth about what is coming." The display screens around the cabin came alive with images. Daho saw space battles, alien creatures, and cities on fire. He saw humans fighting with weapons that shot beams of light and spaceships larger than mountains. 7 years from now, Woobin continued, Earth will be invaded by an alien empire. Called the Dominion, they have conquered hundreds of worlds. Most species surrender without a fight, but humans are different. We fight back, even when we have no chance of winning. "Did we win?" Daho asked. "In my original timeline, barely. Billions died. Cities were destroyed. But we learned something important. The Dominion can be defeated, but only if we prepare properly. That is why I am here." Hyjin, who had been quietly listening, finally spoke. "What do you need from us?" "I need to train Daho. He has abilities that he does not know about yet. I need to prepare Earth for what is coming, but I cannot do it alone." Woobin stood up and walked to the front of the cabin. He pressed several buttons, and the outside of the spaceship became transparent. Through the walls, Daho could see their apartment, but also something else. Numbers and symbols floated in the air around them. "This ship contains technology that is 500 years ahead of your time. With it, we can give humanity a fighting chance. But we must be careful. If the wrong people find out about this, they will try to take it away from us." Daho looked at his grandmother, then at Woobin, then at the amazing spaceship around him. His simple life had just become very complicated. "What happens if I say no?" he asked. Woobin's expression became sad, and in 7 years, when the PSDs and Dominion ships appear in your sky, humanity will face them alone and unprepared. And this time, I do not think we will be lucky enough to survive. Outside the apartment, the sun was setting over Seoul. Millions of people were going about their normal lives, completely unaware that the fate of their entire species might depend on the choice of one. 12-year-old boy. Daho took a deep breath and looked at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. "Okay," he said, "I will help you, but I do not know how to be a hero." Woobin smiled again. "Do not worry. No one does, until they have to be." Daho could not sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the images from Woobin's display screens. Cities burning, people running, giant spaceships blocking out the sun. When morning came, he wondered if it had all been a dream, but when he walked to the storage room, the spaceship was still there. Woobin sat in the pilot's seat, studying the control panels. The strange man looked more human in the daylight, but his eyes still held that unusual depth. "Good morning, Daho," Woobin said without looking up. "Did you sleep well?" "Not really," Daho admitted. "I keep thinking about what you showed me. That is normal. The first time anyone learns about the future, it is hard to accept." Woobin pressed a button, and one of the screens showed a map of Earth. Red dots appeared in several locations. "But we have work to do." "What are those red dots?" Daho asked. "Other spaceships like mine?" "I was not the only one sent back in time. There are 12 ships total, hidden in different countries. Each one has a guardian who is supposed to help. Prepare humanity for the war." Daho felt a little relieved. So I am not alone in this. Wu Bin's face became serious. Unfortunately, some of the Guardians have different ideas about how to prepare, and some of them are not Guardians at all. Before Daeho could ask what that meant, his grandmother called from the kitchen. Daeho, breakfast is ready, and bring your friend. The boy looked at Wu Bin. Can you eat normal food? I am human, just from a different time. Wu Bin smiled. Though I should warn you, the food in your time tastes much better than what we have in mine. They joined Haijin at the small kitchen table. She had prepared rice, soup, and grilled fish. As they ate, she asked Wu Bin careful questions about the future. What happened to families? She asked. Do people still live together? Family is more important than ever, Wu Bin replied. When the Dominion invaded, families were often the only thing that kept people fighting. Communities became stronger because they had to survive together. And what about old people like me? In my time, elders are treasured. Their experience and wisdom help guide the younger generations. Many of our greatest leaders are people who lived through the invasion. Nodded, seeming satisfied with his answers. After breakfast, she surprised them both. I want to help, she said firmly. Grandmother, this is dangerous, Daeho protested. I may be old, but I am not useless. I worked as an engineer before I retired. This spaceship has advanced technology. Maybe I can understand some of it. Wu Bin looked thoughtful. Actually, that might be very helpful. The ship's computer has been trying to translate its systems into current Earth technology. An engineer's perspective could be valuable. They spent the morning in the storage room while Haijin examined the spaceship. Her old hands moved carefully over the controls, and she asked detailed questions about how everything worked. Daeho was amazed at how quickly she understood the complex systems. This is incredible, she said, studying a power display. The energy source is completely clean, no pollution, no waste. If we could build these for everyone, that is one of the goals, Wu Bin said. The technology in this ship can solve many of Earth's problems, but we must be careful about how we introduce it. In the afternoon, Daeho's best friend Sujin came to visit. She was a year older than him and much smarter in school. She had short black hair and always asked too many questions. What have you been doing? She asked as they sat in his room. You have been acting strange for 2 days? Nothing special, Daeho led. Just helping grandmother clean. Sujin looked around the room. Your grandmother's apartment is usually messy, but now it looks like you actually organized everything. And what was that humming sound I heard yesterday? Daeho's heart started beating faster. Sujin was too observant. I do not know what you mean. And who is that man I saw through your window this morning? He does not look like anyone from the neighborhood. Before Daeho could answer, his grandmother called from the kitchen. Sujin, dear, would you like some tea? While Sujin was distracted, Daeho quickly went to the storage room. Wu Bin was working on something that looked like a small computer tablet. My friend is getting suspicious, Daeho whispered. That was bound to happen, Wu Bin said. We cannot keep this secret forever. Eventually we will need allies. But what if she tells other people? Then we will have to trust her. Or what? Wu Bin held up the tablet. This device can erase specific memories. It is painless and safe, but it would remove her curiosity about what is happening here. Daeho felt sick. You want to mess with her brain? Want to protect the mission, but the choice is yours. You know her better than I do. That evening, after Sujin left, Daeho sat on his bed thinking. He trusted Sujin more than anyone except his grandmother. But if she found out about the spaceship, could she keep the secret? His thoughts were interrupted by a news report on television. The reporter was talking about unusual electromagnetic readings detected around the city. Government scientists say these energy signatures are unlike anything they have seen before, the reporter said. Officials are investigating possible sources. Wu Bin appeared in the doorway. They are starting to notice. The ship's presence creates disturbances that their instruments can detect. What does that mean? It means we do not have much time before government agents come looking for the source. We need to accelerate your training. What kind of training? Physical, mental, and technological.
Ow.
The ship's computer can download knowledge directly into your brain,
Ow.
but your body needs to be strong enough to handle advanced equipment. Went to the storage room, where Wubin activated a program on the ship's computer. This will teach you basic physics, engineering, and combat skills. It will feel strange at first. Daeho put on a helmet that connected to the ship's computer. Immediately, information began flowing into his mind. He learned about energy weapons, space travel, and alien biology. The knowledge felt like it had always been there, even though he knew it was new. When the session ended, he felt different, stronger and more confident. He also felt like he understood the spaceship better. "How do I feel so smart suddenly?" he asked. "The human brain can absorb much more information than most people realize," Wubin explained. "The ship's computer just makes the process faster and more efficient." Over the next few days, Daeho continued his training. He learned to operate the ship's weapon systems, though Wubin assured him they were set to non-lethal levels. Studied star maps, and learned about the Dominion Empire. The aliens were not evil, Wubin explained. They simply believed that all species should be unified under their rule. They saw conquest as a way to bring peace to the galaxy. "They do not understand that some species value freedom more than peace," Wubin said. "Humans are one of the few races that consistently fight back, even when surrender would be easier." On the fourth day, Daeho noticed men in dark suits watching their apartment building. They tried to look casual, but he could see the communication devices in their ears and the way they studied everyone who entered or left. "We have been found," he told Wubin. "I know. I detected their surveillance equipment yesterday. They are government agents, probably from the National Intelligence Service. What do? We prepare for contact. They will approach us soon, and we need to decide how much to tell them." That evening, Sujin visited again. This time, she brought a book about UFO sightings. "Look at this," she said, showing Daeho. Page. "People have been reporting strange lights and sounds in this neighborhood for 3 days. The same 3 days you have been acting weird?" Daeho looked at his friend's eager face. She was too smart and too curious to fool for much longer. "Sujin," he said carefully, "if I told you something incredible, something that could change everything, would you believe me?" Her eyes grew wide. "What kind of something?" Daeho took a deep breath. The decision was made. "Come with me," he said. "I have something to show you." As they walked toward the storage room, Daeho hoped he was making the right choice. The future of humanity might depend on who they could trust. He was about to find out if his best friend was someone worth trusting with the biggest secret in the world. Sujin's mouth dropped open when she saw the spaceship. She stood frozen in the doorway of the storage room, staring at the sleek metal vehicle that definitely had not been there a week ago. "This is impossible," she whispered. "That is what I thought too," Daeho said, "but here it is." Wubin emerged from the ship's cabin. "Hello, Sujin. Daeho has told me good things about you." Sujin looked back and forth between Daeho and the strange man. "Who are you? What is this thing? How did you get a spaceship into my friend's apartment?" "I am from the future," Wubin said simply. "And this spaceship is here to help save Earth." A moment, Sujin was quiet. Then she started laughing. "Okay, this is a really good joke. Illo, did you build this for a school project? It looks amazing." Wubin touched one of the control panels. The ship's walls became transparent, showing the apartment around them, but also displaying floating numbers and symbols in the air. Sujin stopped laughing. "How did you do that?" "Advanced technology," Wubin explained. "Technology that your planet will not develop for another 500 years. Sujin walked slowly around the spaceship, touching its surface. The metal is warm, and it feels alive somehow. "The ship's hull is made of smart materials that respond to their environment," Wubin said. "They can repair themselves and adapt. 2 different conditions." "This is real," Sujin said, more to herself than to anyone else. "This is actually real." Daeho felt relieved. His friend was handling the shock better than he had expected. "There is more. Show her the training system." Over the next hour, Wubin explained about the coming invasion and the need to prepare humanity. Sujin listened carefully, asking smart questions about the technology and the aliens. Back in time to train Daeho, she said finally. Among other things, yes. Why him specifically? Wubin smiled. In my timeline, he becomes famous for his courage and his ability to inspire others. He saves thousands of lives during the invasion. Sujin looked at Daeho with new respect. I always knew you were special. I do not feel special, Daeho said. I feel scared. Fear is normal, Wubin said, but you are already changing. The training is making you stronger and smarter. Watch. He threw a small ball at Daeho without warning, without thinking. Daeho caught it easily, even though it was moving very fast. Your reflexes are now 3 times faster than normal, Wubin explained. Your mind can process information much quicker, and your body is becoming stronger. Can I get the same training? Sujin asked eagerly. The ship's computer would need to scan you first to make sure your brain can handle the process safely. Not everyone can adapt to the enhancement. Sujin volunteered immediately. The scan showed that she was compatible. She began her first training session that same day, while Sujin was connected to the ship's computer. Daeho continued his own advanced training, learned about energy weapons, space navigation, and alien psychology. Each session left him feeling more confident and capable. His grandmother watched these changes with interest. You are growing up fast, she told him. But remember to stay humble. Power without wisdom is dangerous. I will remember, grandmother. After 3 days of training, both Daeho and Sujin had changed dramatically. They moved faster, thought quicker, and seemed to understand complex ideas easily. But they were careful to act normal around other people. That carefully maintained normal life was shattered on. Thursday morning, Daeho was walking to the corner store when he heard screaming. A construction crane at a nearby building site had malfunctioned. Its heavy load of steel beams was falling toward a group of elementary school children who were on a field trip. Without thinking, Daeho ran toward the danger. His enhanced reflexes kicked in, and time seemed to slow down. He could see exactly where each beam would land and calculate the best way to save the children. He reached the first child, a small boy named Junho, just as a massive steel beam came crashing down. Using strength he did not know he had, Daeho caught the beam and threw it aside. He grabbed Junho and 3 other children, moving them to safety in seconds. The other beams crashed harmlessly to the ground where the children had been standing. Crowd gathered quickly. People were amazed that a 12-year-old boy had moved so fast and shown such incredible strength. Someone had recorded the incident on their phone, and within hours the video was spreading across the internet. Boy shows superhuman strength saving children, read the headlines. Daeho returned home to find Wubin looking very worried. This is not good, Wubin said. We needed to stay hidden for longer. I could not let those children die, Daeho said. You did the right thing. But now everyone will be watching us more closely. That evening, the government agents who had been watching their building knocked on their door. The lead agent was a stern woman who introduced herself as Director HFY Park. We need to talk, she said, showing her identification. About some unusual energy readings we have detected in this area? Hyjin invited them in, acting like a normal grandmother. Would you like some tea, officers? This is not a social visit, Director Park said. We know something unusual is happening here. Our instruments detect technology that should not exist. I do not know what you mean, Hyjin said innocently. Director Park showed them photos taken with special cameras. The images showed energy, fields around their apartment building that looked like nothing on Earth. We also have reports of a young man with extraordinary abilities, she continued. A boy who can move faster than humanly possible and lift objects that should be too heavy for him. Children are stronger than you think, Hyjin said. Not this strong. Director Park played the video of Daeho saving the children. This boy moved a steel beam that weighs over 2 tons. That is impossible for any normal human. Daeho felt his heart racing. Sujin squeezed his hand under the table. We want to help, Director Park said, her voice becoming gentler. Whatever technology you have access to, our country needs it. There are threats coming that you cannot imagine. What kind of threats? Hyjin asked. Classified threats. But I can tell you that we have been preparing for possible alien contact for years. We have scientists and facilities that can help you develop whatever you have found. Wubin stepped out of the storage room. What if we do not want your help? Director Park's hand moved toward her weapon. And who are you? Someone who knows more about the coming threats than you do, Wubin said calmly. Tell me, Director Park, what do you know about the Dominion Empire? The director's face went pale. How do you know that name? Because I have fought them before. In a different timeline. You are claiming to be a time traveler. I am not claiming anything. I am telling you facts. The Dominion will invade Earth in less than 7 years. Your government knows this because you have been intercepting their scout transmissions for months. Director Park looked shocked. That information is classified at the highest levels. Not high enough. One of your scientists is actually a Dominion agent. He has been reporting your progress to his superiors and sabotaging your defensive preparations. That is impossible. All our people are thoroughly screened. Your screening cannot detect beings who are surgically altered to appear human. The agent I am talking about has been on Earth for 5 years. He works in your research division and has access to all your military planning. Your Director Park pulled out her phone and made a quick call. After a brief conversation, she hung up looking troubled. We have detected some irregularities in our communication systems, she admitted. Information that should be secure has somehow been compromised. Because you have a spy in your organization, Wubin said. And now that spy knows about us. If summoned by his words, Daeho's phone rang. It was his school. Oh, Daeho, his teacher, Mr. Donghain said. Could you come to school tonight? I have some special materials I want to show you about your science project. Daeho looked at Wubin, who was already checking his ship's sensors. I is not your teacher, Wubin said grimly. That is the Dominion agent, and he is not alone. Through the window, they could see dark figures moving in the shadows around their building. The enemy had found them, and they were running out of time. What do we do? Sujin asked. We fight, Daeho said, surprised by his own determination. This is what we trained for. Director Park looked at the group of unlikely allies. I do not understand everything that is happening here, but I know my country is in danger. What do you need from us? Trust, Wubin said, and a chance to prove that humanity can defend itself. Outside, the first shots were fired. The battle for Earth's future had begun. The gunfire outside grew louder. Director Park spoke quickly into her radio, calling for backup. Wubin was already activating the spaceship's defense systems. We need to move, he said. This building is not safe anymore. Where can we go? Daeho asked. The school director Park said, if your teacher is really the alien spy, we need to stop him before he reports back to his superiors. That could be a trap, Sujin pointed out. Everything is a trap now, Wubin replied, but we cannot let him escape. They gathered essential equipment from the spaceship. Wubin gave Daeho and Sujin each a small device that looked like a watch. These are personal shields, he explained. They will protect you from energy weapons. But they only work for about 10 minutes before they need to recharge. Hai-Jin insisted on coming with them. I am not staying here to be captured, she said firmly. They left through the back of the building while Director Park's agents created a distraction at the front. The government vehicles and the mysterious attackers were focused on each other, giving the group a chance to escape. The school was only 6 blocks away, but it felt like the longest walk of Daeho's life. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Sound might be someone following them. When they reached the school, everything looked normal. The building was dark, except for lights in the science wing where Mr. Donghain said he would be waiting. This feels wrong, Sujin whispered. Wrong, Wubin agreed. But we need to end this. They entered through a side door that Director Park's agents had unlocked remotely. The hallways were empty and quiet. Their footsteps echoed despite their efforts to move silently. The science classroom was at the end of the hall. Light spilled out from under the door, and they could hear someone moving around inside. Mr. Donghai and Daeho called out. I am here for the science project. Come in, Daeho, came the familiar voice of his teacher. And bring your friends. All of them. They entered the classroom to find Mr. Donghai standing behind his desk. He looked exactly like he always had, but something was different about his eyes. They seemed colder, more calculating. I am glad you came, he said. It saves me the trouble of hunting you down. Are not really my teacher, are you? Daeho said. I'm exactly your teacher. Press. Years, grading your papers, attending parent meetings. I know more about human children than most humans do. Mr. Donghain smiled, but it was not a kind smile. The role was quite educational. Why? Sujin asked. Why pretend to be human? To study you, to understand your weaknesses, to prepare for the day when my people would claim this world. He walked around the desk, moving in a way that seemed too smooth, too perfect. Humans are fascinating creatures. You are weak individually, but you become dangerous when you work together. The Dominion sent you to spy on us, Director Park said. I volunteered for the mission. Most of my people find humans distasteful, but I was curious. You are the first species we have encountered that consistently refuses to surrender. Mr. Donghain's appearance began to change slightly. His skin became paler, and his eyes grew larger. Even when you have no chance of winning, you fight. It is illogical. It's called courage, Daeho said. Is it courage or stupidity? The result is the same. Your species will be conquered. Wu Bin stepped forward. Not if we have anything to say about it. Mr. Donghain looked at him with interest. Ah, the time traveler. Yes, we detected your arrival several days ago. Your ship's temporal signature was quite distinctive. Then you know. What happens in the future? I know what happened in your timeline, but this timeline is already different. The early discovery of future technology changes everything. Mr. Donghain pulled out a device that looked like a silver pen. The Dominion Council has decided to accelerate the invasion schedule. What do you mean? Director Park demanded. Instead of 7 years, you now have 7 months. My people are already moving ships into position around your solar system. The room went silent. 7 months was not enough time to prepare Earth's defenses. Why are you telling us this? Wu Bin asked. Because it does not matter. Even with your advanced technology, you cannot build a defense fleet in 7 months. You are still going to lose. Mr. Donghain pointed the silver device at them. But first, I need to eliminate the variables that make this timeline unpredictable. The device fired a beam of red light. Daeho's shield activated automatically, absorbing the energy, but the force of the blast knocked him backward. Run, Wu Bin shouted. They scattered as Mr. Donghain fired again. His movements were faster than any human could manage, and his aim was perfect. Only their shield devices kept them alive. Sujin threw a chair at the alien spy, but he caught it effortlessly and threw it back at her. She barely dodged. You cannot escape, Mr. Donghain said calmly. I have sealed the building. My associates are positioned at every exit. Director Park tried to radio for help, but her communication device was not working. He is jamming our signals. Daeho's mind raced. They were trapped with a superior enemy, and their shields would not last much longer. He needed to think like the hero Wu Bin said he would become. Sujin, he called out. The fire alarm, she understood immediately. While the others distracted Mr. Donghain, she pulled the fire alarm. Immediately, water began spraying from the ceiling sprinklers. Mr. Donghain looked annoyed. Water will not stop me. No, Daeho said, but it will conduct electricity. Grab 2 electrical cables from a broken piece of equipment and touch them to the water on the floor. Sparks flew, and electricity coursed through the puddles around Mr. Donghain's feet. The alien spy convulsed as the electrical current hit him. His disguise flickered, revealing his true appearance for a moment. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. Clever, he gasped, then collapsed. Is he dead? Sujin asked. Wu Bin checked the fallen spy. It's unconscious. The electrical shock disrupted his nervous system, but beings like him are very tough. We need to get out of here before his friends arrive, Director Park said. But as they reached the classroom door, they found their way blocked. 3 figures in dark clothing stood in the hallway, holding weapons that glowed with blue energy. More Dominion agents, Wu Bin said grimly. No, Director Park said, studying the newcomers. Those are my people, but they should not be here. Lead figure removed her helmet, revealing an older woman with short gray hair. Director Park, you are under arrest for treason. Deputy Director Nam Park said with surprise. What is the meaning of this? You have been consorting with alien entities and sharing classified information with unauthorized individuals. The council has decided that you are a security risk. What council? Park demanded. The Human Defense Council? We've been preparing for alien contact for years, and we cannot allow civilian interference to compromise our efforts, Wubin whispered to Daeho. This is what I was afraid of. Some humans are so focused on fighting the aliens that they forget to protect human freedom. Deputy Director Nam continued, the boy and his technology will come with us. We can use them to build proper defenses. I am not going anywhere, Daeho said firmly. You do not have a choice. The survival of humanity is more important than individual preferences. Not like this, Director Park said, stepping between her deputy and the children. This is not how we protect our people. You are no longer in charge, Director Park. The council has voted to remove you from command. The standoff was broken by the sound of Mr. Donghyun stirring behind them. The alien spy was beginning to wake up. We can argue about authority later, Wubin said. Right now, we need to work together to stop the real enemy. But Deputy Director Nam had made up her mind. Secure the assets, she ordered her men. The agents raised their weapons, but they were not fast enough. Daeho and Sujin, with their enhanced reflexes, moved like lightning. They disarmed 2 of the agents before anyone could react. In the confusion that followed, Mr. Donghyun fully awakened. He assessed the situation quickly and smiled coldly. How perfect, he said. Humans fighting humans while the real threat escapes. He activated a device on his wrist, and a bright light filled the room. When the light faded, the alien spy was gone. He teleported, Wubin said with frustration. Now he will report back to his superiors that Earth's defenders are divided. Deputy Director Nam looked around at the chaos she had caused. This is all your fault, she said to Director Park. No, Daeho said, his voice carrying a authority that surprised everyone. This is exactly what the aliens want. To fight each other instead of working together. He looked at both Director Park and Deputy Director Nam. Wubin told me that in the future, I become someone who brings people together. Well, the future starts now. We do not have time for speeches, Deputy Director Nam said. Then make time, Sujin said, standing beside her friend. Because if we do not start trusting each other, we are all going to die. Outside, alarms began blaring across the city. Government facilities were under attack.
Ow.
The Dominion had decided that subtlety was no longer necessary. The war for Earth had begun 7 months early, and humanity was not ready. The sky over Seoul was filled with strange lights. Dominion scout ships moved like glowing stars, too fast for normal aircraft to intercept. Emergency broadcasts filled the airwaves as governments around the world tried to understand what was happening. Daeho and his group had escaped the school during the chaos. They now hid in an abandoned subway station that Wubin had modified with technology from his spaceship. The tunnels provided good cover from the alien sensors that were scanning the city. How many people know about the invasion? Sujin asked, watching news reports on a tablet. Most governments have been aware of the threat for months, Director Park explained. But they told the public it was just military exercises or weather phenomena. They were afraid of causing panic, Deputy Director Nam added. She had reluctantly joined their group after realizing that the Human Defense Council's methods were making things worse. Now the panic is here anyway, Haijin observed. She sat in her wheelchair near the computer systems Wubin had set up. Despite her age, she had become their best technician. Understanding the alien technology better than anyone, Wubin studied the tactical displays. The Dominion is following their standard pattern. First, they eliminate military targets and communication networks. Then they offer terms for surrender. What kind of terms? Daeho asked. Complete submission in exchange for the preservation of human life. Most species accept because they see no alternative. But humans are different, Sujin said. Some humans are different. Others will want to surrender rather than fight a war. They think they cannot win. Over the next few days, that prediction proved accurate. Several countries announced their intention to negotiate with the aliens. Others declared martial law and began preparing for war. Daeho's sister Yoonji arrived. At their hideout on the third day, she was only 10 years old, but she had walked across half the city to find them after their apartment was destroyed in an alien attack. "I knew you would be somewhere underground," she said matter-of-factly. "You always liked caves and tunnels." "Did you get past all the checkpoints?" Daeho asked, hugging his little sister. "I am small and quiet. People do not notice children during emergencies." Woobin scanned Yoonji with his medical equipment. "Interesting. Her brain patterns are very similar to yours, but more developed in certain areas." "What does that mean?" Yoonji asked. "It means you might be even better at using our technology than your brother." They tested this theory by having Yoonji try the basic training program. She adapted to it faster than anyone had expected, learning complex systems in minutes instead of hours. "This is incredible," Haejin said, watching her granddaughter operate. "Controls that had taken Daeho days to master. She has a natural gift. It runs in families," Woobin explained. "In my timeline, several of the greatest human defenders were related to each other." More people arrived at their hideout over the following week. Sujin's mother, Dr. Yoongae, came with a group of scientists who had been working on theoretical defense projects. Director Park brought loyal agents who refused to follow the Human Defense Council's increasingly extreme orders. "We need a real base of operations," Dr. Yoongae said during a planning meeting. "The subway station is good for hiding, but we cannot build anything substantial here." "I know a place," Deputy Director Nam offered. "There is an old military facility in the mountains outside the city. It was abandoned years ago, but the basic infrastructure is still there." "Can we trust you, Daeho?" asked directly. "A few days ago you were trying to arrest us." Nam looked uncomfortable. "I thought I was protecting humanity. I realize now that protection and control are not the same thing." "Actions speak louder than words," Woobin said. "Prove your commitment." Nam did exactly that. She used her security clearance to access government supply depots, bringing them weapons, equipment, and raw materials. She also provided intelligence about Dominion movements and Human Defense Council operations. The mountain facility became their new home. It was hidden in a valley surrounded by thick forests, invisible to casual observation. Woobin's technology helped them expand the underground areas and set up manufacturing equipment. "We need to produce more shield devices and energy weapons," Dr. Yoongae said, studying the alien technology. "But the materials are very rare. Not if you know how to make them," Haejin said. She had been working with the ship's computer to understand how to create the necessary components. "Most of what we need can be synthesized from common elements, but the process requires enormous amounts of energy. The spaceship's power core can provide that energy," Woobin said. "But once we start large-scale manufacturing, the Dominion will detect our energy signature. Then we need to be ready to defend ourselves," Daeho said. They spent weeks preparing. Daeho and Sujin trained other young volunteers in the use of advanced weapons and tactics. Yoonji proved to be an excellent teacher, helping newcomers adapt to the neural interface systems that connected human minds to alien technology. "Why are you only training young people?" one of the scientists asked. "Younger brains are more adaptable," Woobin explained. "Adults can learn to use our technology, but children can integrate with it completely. They become something more than human." "Is that safe?" Dr. Yoongae asked, worried about her daughter. "Safer than leaving Earth defenseless," Sujin replied. "Besides, we are not becoming less human, we are becoming more human. All our best qualities are enhanced." The first major test came when a Dominion patrol found their base. 3 alien ships approached the mountain facility, scanning for the energy signature they had detected. "All fighters 2 positions," Daeho commanded. At 13, he had become the leader of their enhanced human defenders. "Remember your training?" Young defenders moved with incredible speed and coordination. They had learned to work together, like parts of a single organism, sharing information through their neural links and acting with perfect timing. The battle was over in minutes. The alien ships, expecting to find primitive human defenders, were completely unprepared for weapons, that could match their own technology and tactics that seemed to predict their every move. "How did we win so easily?" one of the volunteers asked. "Afterward, because they underestimated us," Yanji explained. "They think humans are weak and disorganized. They do not understand that our greatest strength is how we work together." Word of their victory spread quickly through the resistance networks that were forming around the world. Other groups reached out, asking for help and sharing information. "Are not alone," Director Park reported after a secure communication session. "There are resistance cells on every continent. Some have found other spaceships like yours." "That is good news," Wu Bin said, "but also dangerous. The Dominion will respond to these victories by escalating their attacks." "Let them come," Deho said with confidence. "We are ready." But even as he spoke those words, he knew the real test was still ahead. The Dominion had been playing with them so far, using only scout forces and local agents. Soon, they would face the full might of an empire that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Wu Bin had shown them recordings of the invasion from his timeline. Massive ships that blotted out the sun, weapons that could destroy entire cities, and billions of alien soldiers equipped with technology beyond imagination. "In my timeline, we barely survived," Wu Bin had told them. And that was with 7 years to prepare. "You have had 7 months. But we have something your timeline did not," Yunji had replied. "We have you. We have each other." As if summoned by their conversation about escalation, alarms began sounding throughout the base. The scanners showed massive energy signatures approaching Earth from deep space. The main Dominion fleet had arrived. Dr. Young-A looked at the readings with growing alarm. "There are hundreds of ships out there, maybe thousands. How long until they reach Earth?" Director Park asked. 18 hours, Wu Bin replied grimly. "Then we have 18 hours to get ready for the fight of our lives," Deho said. He looked around at the faces of his friends and family. Sujin, brave and brilliant. Youngji, young but fearless. His grandmother, Haijin, wise and determined. Dr. Young-A and Director Park. Former enemies who had become trusted allies. Deputy Director Nam, seeking redemption through service. Wu Bin carrying the weight of knowledge from a darker timeline. And dozens of other volunteers, young and old, who had given up normal lives to defend their world. "We may not have 7 years of preparation," Deho continued, "but we have something the Dominion does not understand. We have the courage to fight for what we love, even when victory seems impossible." "That is very inspiring," Sujin said, with a small smile, "but we also need a plan." Deho grinned back at her. "I am working on that part." Outside, the stars seemed brighter than usual, but Deho knew that was not a good sign. Those lights were not stars. They were the engines of ships carrying an army that had never known defeat. But as he had learned from Wu Bin, humans were different from other species. They did not surrender, even when they should. Sometimes, that stubbornness was enough to change everything. The Dominion fleet filled the sky like a second layer of stars. Hundreds of massive ships hung in Earth's atmosphere, each one larger than a city. Their shadows fell across continents, turning day into twilight. Deho stood on the roof of their mountain base, now 15 years old and taller than his grandmother. 3 years of constant training and fighting had changed him from a curious boy into a skilled leader. But he still felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him like those alien ships. "The surrender broadcast will begin in 1 hour," Director Park reported. "Most world governments are already discussing terms." "What about the others?" Sujin asked. She was now 17 and served as Deho's second in command. "Russia, Brazil, and several African nations are refusing to negotiate. They are preparing for war," Gunyangji said. At 13, she had become the most technically skilled member of their group. "We will need all the help we can get." The Dominion had not been idle during the past 3 years. After their initial scouts were defeated, they had sent waves of increasingly powerful forces. Each battle had been harder than the last. But the human resistance had grown stronger too. They now had bases on every continent and thousands of enhanced fighters. The alien technology had been reverse-engineered and improved, creating weapons and defenses that could match Dominion equipment. But matching their technology was not enough. The aliens had numbers that humanity could not hope to equal. Status. Report, Daeho, asked Wubin. Our manufacturing facilities have produced enough equipment to arm about 50,000 fighters worldwide. The Neural Enhancement Program has created nearly 10,000 enhanced humans with abilities comparable to yours. And the enemy. Conservative estimates suggest they have brought over 2 million soldiers and support personnel. Their ships carry enough firepower to destroy every major city on Earth. Hai Jin, now 75 but still sharp, looked up from her computer console. The good news is that we have completed the special project. She was referring to the modified spaceship they had been building in secret. Using Wubin's time travel technology and 3 years of accumulated knowledge, they had created something unprecedented. A ship that could not only travel through time, but also project defensive fields around entire planets. Is it ready, Daeho? Asked. Ready and waiting, Dr. Yoongae confirmed. But remember, we only get one chance. If this fails, there is no backup plan. The plan was desperate, but simple. Daeho would pilot the modified ship into the heart of the Dominion fleet and activate a temporal field that would freeze their ships in time for exactly 24 hours. That would give Earth's defenders a chance to destroy the invasion force. While it could not fight back, the catch was that the pilot would not survive the mission. The energy required to create such a massive temporal field would be fatal to anyone inside the ship. I still think I should be the one to go, Wubin said for the 100th time. I am from the future anyway. My timeline no longer exists. And I still think you are wrong, Daeho replied. You have knowledge. We need to rebuild after this is over. Besides, this is my planet to defend. I could go instead. Yoonji offered quietly. Absolutely not, both Daeho and Sujin said it the same. Time, you are too important, Daeho continued. If something happens to me, you will need to lead the next generation of defenders. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. The Dominion surrender broadcast was beginning. They gathered around the main display screen as a figure appeared. It was humanoid, but clearly alien, with pale blue skin and eyes like black pools. When it spoke, its voice was translated into dozens of human languages simultaneously. People of Earth, the alien commander said, I am High Admiral Kael'ren of the Dominion Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our domain. Incorporation, Sujin muttered. They make it sound like a business meeting. You have fought bravely, the alien continued, but continued resistance is futile. We offer you one final opportunity to surrender. Accept our rule, and your species will be preserved and given a place in our empire. Refuse, and we will be forced to take your world by conquest. You have 1 hour to decide. The broadcast ended, leaving them in tense silence. Well, Director Park said finally, I guess that is our deadline. Daeho stood up and walked to the window overlooking their underground hangar. The modified spaceship sat there like a silver bullet, beautiful and deadly. Gather everyone, he said. It is time. Within minutes, their entire team had assembled. Veterans of dozens of battles stood alongside newcomers who had arrived just days ago, scientists, soldiers, and ordinary citizens who had chosen to fight rather than surrender. 3 years ago, Daeho began, a stranger from the future told me that I would become a hero. I did not believe him. I was just a kid who found a spaceship in his grandmother's junk room. A few people smiled at that, but I learned something important. Being a hero is not about having special powers or advanced technology. It is about making the choice to protect the people you love, even when the cost is everything you have. He looked around at the faces watching him. These people had become his family, his responsibility, his purpose. In a few minutes, I am going to get in that ship and fly into the middle of the largest invasion fleet in galactic history. I am going to give you 24 hours to destroy them while they cannot fight back, and I am probably not coming home. Several people started to protest, but he held up his hand. This is not a debate. This is the plan, and it is our only chance. But I need you to promise me something. When this is over, when Earth is safe, remember that we won because we worked together. Humans, enhanced humans, former enemies who became allies, we are stronger together than we could ever be apart. Grandmother rolled her wheelchair forward. Come here, my boy. Daeho knelt beside her chair. She placed her weathered hands on his face. I am proud of you, she said softly. Your grandfather would be proud too. You have become exactly the man we hoped you would be. I love you, grandmother. Love you too. Now go save the world. The hangar bay doors opened, revealing the star-filled sky above. The Dominion ships hung there like a ceiling of metal and malice. But Daeho was no longer afraid of them. He hugged his sister Yoonji, shook hands with Woobin, and kissed Sujin goodbye. Take care of each other, he told them. The modified spaceship rose silently into the night sky. Its advanced stealth systems made it invisible to Dominion sensors, allowing it to pass through their defensive perimeter undetected. As Earth fell away below him, Daeho thought about the journey that had brought him to this moment. A curious boy cleaning his grandmother's storage room had become the hope of an entire planet. The Dominion fleet loomed ahead, a forest of metal and weapons. He guided his ship toward the largest vessel, the flagship where High Admiral Kelrun waited for humanity's surrender. This is Daeho Kim, he broadcast on all frequencies, representing the free people of Earth. Our answer to your surrender demand is this. We choose to fight. He activated the temporal field generator. Light exploded outward from his ship, washing over the Dominion fleet like a wave. One by one, the massive alien vessels stopped moving. Frozen in time by technology they had never encountered before, the energy surge tore through Daeho's ship and through his body. He felt his enhanced abilities failing, his consciousness fading. But he held on long enough to see Earth's defenders rising to meet the paralyzed enemy. Fighter ships launched from hidden bases around the world. Enhanced humans wearing personal flight gear soared up from the surface. Weapons that combined human ingenuity with alien technology began systematically destroying the helpless Dominion vessels in the mountains outside Seoul. His friends and his family watched the battle through tears of pride and grief. He did it, Sujin whispered. He actually did it. Of course he did, Haijin said firmly. He was always special. We just had to help him realize it. The battle lasted exactly 24 hours. When the temporal field finally collapsed, less than a dozen Dominion ships remained functional as they fled into deep space, carrying news of humanity's impossible victory back to their empire. High Admiral Kaelron was among the survivors. Before his flagship jumped to faster-than-light speed, he sent one final message to Earth. You have won this battle, he admitted, but the Dominion Empire is vast. You will return with greater forces. We'll be ready, Yoonji replied from the command center. She now ran. Next time we will have friends. She was right. In the months that followed, other species that had been conquered by the Dominion began to rebel. They had heard about the impossible humans who refused to surrender. It gave them hope. The galaxy was changing, and it all started with a boy who found a spaceship buried in boxes years later. When the stories were told and retold, people would say that Daeho Kim saved the world through courage and sacrifice. His grandmother knew better. He saved the world by choosing to care about people more than himself, by bringing together individuals who were stronger as a team than they could ever be alone, by proving that sometimes the most ordinary person can become extraordinary when the world needs them most. The spaceship had given him the tools, but Daeho had always carried the most important thing within himself, the heart of a hero, and in the end, that was enough to change everything.